MoneyFM 89.3. Good morning. It's the Breakfast Huddle. Elliot Danker, Bharati Jagdish and Ryan Huang with you. It's time now for Why It Matters. We're turning our attention this morning to this report by Asian Development Bank, ADB. And it says that the region has been relatively resilient in terms of foreign direct investment.
Yeah, let's take a look at the numbers more closely. Yeah, so foreign direct investment slipped 1.3 percentage points to 53.6% in 2020. Compare this with the global average decline of 34.7%. The study also found that East Asia and Southeast Asia were actually the largest recipients in the region, attracting roughly 80% of Asia's inward FDI.
A couple of interesting points as well. 24% of FDI into the region from 2003 to 2020 went into digital services on average. In fact, with East Asia and South Asia, the main destination. So now that we're here, 2022, can we expect the FDI to go on a rebound? Let's find out more from Lennard Yong, the CEO of Tricor Group. Lennard, good morning. How are you?
Yes, good morning. Nice to talk to you. And love to share our thoughts.
So, Lennard, you were on Money FM about a year ago talking about the impact of RCEP on APAC trade and investment. And I think Elliot remembers that. I'm kind of new here, but Elliot remembers that. So let's talk about your analysis of sentiments on the ground in regard to this 1 year on.
Yeah, look, I think the analysis is pretty accurate. In the year 19 to 20, especially in 20, globally, we all took a dive, FDI all around the world. But Asia in particular, I think, flattened out or reduced at a much lower rate. However, in 21, and a lot of this data is about, there's a time lag, but when you look at the latest data that's coming out, especially towards the latter part of 21 and coming into 22, the global economies that have come out of COVID, and in particular this latest Omicron wave, have done particularly better than the economies that are still somewhat battling Omicron. So in that sense, we see the dividends for foreign direct investments emanating from the United States, North America, Europe, but also here in particular in Asia and ASEAN.
Okay. Ending on that note, talking about Asia, right? Where does China factor into all of this?
Look, we see some of the resilience in Chinese FDI as well. I think similarly in the 20 to 19 year, there was a period of lull, and there was the same all around the world. And coming into 21. We do see a single-digit growth in terms of FDI flows. But of course, I think in particular the regions that experience a much bigger decline in 20, but came out of Omicron earlier, they have a much bigger movement in the 21 year. So a lot of it depends on the base. Yeah.
Okay.
Lennard, I'd like to go back to the question I asked at the start, which you didn't quite address. RCEP and the role that it has played in terms of improvement in sentiment around Asia. What's your assessment of that role that agreements such as RCEP are playing here?
Yeah, I think that is a fundamental dividend for the ASEAN region in particular. We all know it's the 10 plus 5 countries. So economically, it's the largest trading bloc. And I think what's particularly beneficial to ASEAN and Singapore for that matter is that it encapsulates a lot of these regional trades and recognizes that products today go through a very complicated value chain across several nations. So RCEP is not just a trade agreement, it's a multilateral trade agreement. That's point number one. Point number two is that it opens up opportunities to really reset the e-commerce world. So it's encouraging a lot of nations to put in place, digital IP rights, e-commerce rules, consumer protection, etc. So I think that's going to open up a massive amount of trade and also market opportunities for small, medium enterprises to be able to, engage with their clients more directly and bring the world much closer together.
Okay, so we've talked about RCEP and the impact and the role that it plays. We also talked about the global FDI flows and certain trends, including China, and where it factors into all of this. I mean, there's quite a bit of information there, Lennard. Looking at 2022, though, what is the outlook for FDI then?
Yeah, look, I think going towards the end of 21, the trends definitely showed a increase in global FDI, and that was really coming off COVID depressions in 20. But I think especially in 22, especially with growth towards technology and change economically around the world, I think this is actually a very bullish trend, barring of course some of the more recent turbulence that we get with the current war in Ukraine and so on. Yeah. But the long-term trend is fundamentally RCEP, the demographic dividend, government investments, and so on. It's actually pointing to the right direction. We're very optimistic, and we see a lot of our clients, resetting their supply chains and really utilizing ASEAN, Singapore as a platform for business development.
In the long term, though, in your experience as business expansion specialists, what do you think Asia, in terms of the governments as well as the businesses, ought to be doing to maintain this momentum or even speed it up?
Yeah, I think RCEP was the step in the right direction. And what they want to do is really take advantage of the digital economy as well. So I think having the fundamental economy in terms of trade and manufacturing and so on, that's been pretty well established. But I think on the digital side, it's going to be where it will make a difference from 22 onwards. And I think if governments can think ahead and usher in the right regulatory and operating environment for consumer protection rights, e-commerce, and so on, I think there's going to be the next wave of development. And I think on the services sector as well, you saw a lot of technology in factories, but I think today you're going to see a lot more technology permeate in the services sector, because a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence, AI, will today be able to do a lot of things in the traditional white collar. So give you an example, in my field, you're going to find very soon, even right now, there are corporations where they're utilizing technology, and there will come a day when a CPA, an accountant, will not need to know how to pass a journal entry, because all of that will be done by machine. And so the humans have to evolve to a much higher level of service.
I don't know how to pass a journal entry. I'm glad you segued into that, because I want to do a bit of storytelling here. Tricor is one of Asia's leading business expansion specialists. You provide the building blocks for clients' business growth from incorporation to IPO. With what you just talked about, any chance you could share a success story, especially in the past 2 years, that you guys have been a part of?
Yeah, one of the things is a lot of corporations talk about, different tech and so on, but they don't actually do it themselves. For us at Tricor, we've been on almost a 3-year journey, and we've been investing heavily in robotics. We partner up with a firm in Silicon Valley called Automation Anywhere. And so today, a lot of the form filling exercises in our firm is actually done by machines, and the staff are doing more of the supervisory checking functions. And, with today's great resignation, as you read, the millennials and so on, I think, it's a waste of human talent to be able to engage a lot of the graduates today to do very fundamental, form filling exercise. So we are trying to practice what we preach as well, by evolving our own internal infrastructure. And it's been a big learning curve for us, but I'm amazed at the amount of tech that is now permeating into the services sector.
I'm sure you went through a lot of challenges during this transformation, during the transition. Talk to us a bit about what some of those challenges were and what the main strategies were to overcome those as you progressed.
Yeah, in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a whole wave of business process outsourcing, call centers, being located in countries outside of your main country. So I think in that sense, in that first wave, there was a sense of objection because it was kind of like, you're taking away our jobs and opportunities. But if you take the second wave today with machine learning, what's actually happening is that your labor force right across the world, there's a sense that they are objecting to doing some of this mundane stuff because humans want to be, better utilize their skills. So technology today is actually less threatening because it's actually aiding the human to do the job much better. So think about it as, when you're writing a report and you got Grammarly, it does a lot of your, you don't see Grammarly as taking away your job. You actually see it as a performance enhancer. So today with machine learning and robotic process automation, RPA is the short form for it, it's actually helping people to evolve and to be able to leverage themselves much better. So I think the objection rates and the thought process is very different from the first wave in the 90s and 2000 with regards to the BPO as to put this in context.
It's kind of like spell check, making my English worse. But I am I think you bring up a really good point, but I see the competition different. Like we tend to think of it, the humans competing with the machines. But what if the competition is really where the organization itself is resisting allowing the machines technology to assist the humans? I mean, and then the technology advances far faster. How do you find that balance?
Yeah, I think this is where, leadership is essential because, people are very much emotional beings and they need, a good sense of confidence in their leadership that, tomorrow is going to be better than today. And I think with the advent of machines, it's a little bit like, the time when the combustion, engine came and motor vehicles kind of like took over from the horse cart, in almost 100 years ago. And, it's no point burying your head in the sand and saying, you reject machine learning and robotics and so on. Yeah. You're just going to leave your organization behind. Your staff are going to feel frustrated and your competitors are just going to get an advantage over your business. Right. And I think as ASEAN evolves from, just like what you see in China, heavy manufacturing to eventually to, high tech and services and consumer tech, you're going to find that you need the people to be able to also evolve to do these higher forms of services. And I think Singapore is an excellent example where the government's, seeded a lot of tech startup. And that's really what you want the people to be focused on, because a lot of the traditional service sector as well, in terms of, as I said in my industry, bookkeeping, form filling, all that will be, is being rapidly consumed by machines today.
Considering the current climate and what you said about leadership, let's talk about what business leaders ought to be doing at this point in terms of taking their company further. If they're looking to expand, what's your advice to them? If they're looking to take their valuation from millions to billions, what's your advice to them?
Look, I think, in terms of what's happening today in the markets, it's highly volatile. But it's sometimes in the volatility and in the midst of a lot of these, convulsions that opportunities arise. I think ASEAN, in particular, still offers tremendous opportunity, whether it be, building out your business in the services sector or also in the, in the manufacturing. To give you an example, the last 2 years, we've engaged and assisted over 20 solar manufacturers enter into Vietnam. And much of that market entry has relied on, creating the regional office and center in Singapore. So in that sense, we see plenty of opportunities. But I think the companies that are considering this, they've got to get the fundamentals together. They've got to get the positive recurring cash flows in the business. Otherwise, the opportunities are there, but as a business, they may not have, the investment capabilities as we speak. So addressing the fundamentals of your business, ensuring that your recurring cash flows are coming in today will give you the upper edge to make those necessary investments.
We've been speaking with Lennard Yong, who's the CEO of Tricor Group. Lennard, appreciate your time this morning. You take care and stay safe, yeah?
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. Have a good morning.